Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled Accidentally Impersonated a Police Officer. So a while back I was coming home from a Halloween party. I'd gone in a police officer costume, for no reason other than they let me keep the costume when I'd played a police officer in a safety video at work, so I didn't have to spend any money to go to the party. Plus, it was very high quality, convincing, and realistic. A network TV show had donated some old costumes since we do a lot of charity work with kids. I'd had a few too many, and by the time I'd left the party, I couldn't really tell you what I was dressed as, or where I was coming from, or where I was headed. I was just on autopilot, stumbling back to the bus stop to home. As I was making my way, someone seemed like they were flagging me down. They were yelling, "Hurry, hurry, there's a couple fighting and I think she's about to stab him, you have to come quick." Still on autopilot, I ambled over in their direction, not in any big rush. The girl was really flawed and kept yelling at me. And I'll be damned. There was a fight going on. I wanted to say to the person who'd flagged me down, "How considerate of you to clue me into this awesome fight so I can watch." But I wasn't feeling articulate enough, so I just kind of gave a thumbs up and watched the two people screaming at each other. It was a young man who looked as though he'd just been woken up and come down from his apartment, and a woman who was dressed for the clubs but looked a mess. They were screaming at each other, and she kept shoving him and making threats like, "It was always $50. Are you really gonna let me have to F***ck you up over $50? While the guy just kept saying, "I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not." It seemed like people were looking at me, but I didn't have the slightest idea why. Finally, the person who had flagged me down said, "Well, are you going to do something?" I was baffled, and a bit flattered, but also confused. I was trying to make sense of the situation. Was I somehow involved in this altercation? Did I know these people? Did I cause this fight? But it was clear everyone expected something of me, so I decided the best course was to fake it until I made it. I charged over with fake authority, trying to place the face of either person in the argument. Can't remember exactly what I said, but I'm told it was along the lines of, hey, guys. Chill. What's the matter, what's happening? Let's just talk." As I got closer, I saw the woman was holding her car key between her fingers and jabbing it out like she planned to stab the man with it. I just giggled and said, "Okay, first of all, that won't work. Haven't you seen World Star? Man, how are you letting her back you up with a car key? Come on. She couldn't open a can with those." I don't know the first thing about physical altercations. Sober me wouldn't be the slightest bit emboldened by street fighting videos I watch at 3 a.m, but apparently drunk me felt qualified to proffer advice. There was a moment of stunned silence as the bystanders wondered how I could be so ineffective, and the arguing people wondered whether or not I was going to arrest them. When it became clear I was as clueless as they were, the arguing continued. Someone in the crowd said, "What? Did you hear that?" And someone else suggested, "We should call some other police. Like 911. I was thinking, what? Yeah. Of course. I can't believe no one's called the police yet. This is really getting out of hand. Good idea, maybe I should call." But I got distracted by the guy going, "I paid you what you're owed, you can't go changing the price," and the girl was shrieking, "Don't bullcrap me, Brian." As she got closer and closer to him, and he had to dodge her crazy key hands. So I'm just slack-jawed watching them again along with everyone else when someone finally says, "Stop him. She's going to hurt him," while looking directly at me. I wasn't sure why everyone seemed to want me to stop them, thinking to myself, or one of you guys could do something. You were here before me. But I figured I must be involved somehow and not understand why, because everyone kept addressing me directly. Maybe I owed someone money? Maybe I chatted with one of them at the party? In any case, I was like, I've got to hang out with these people more often. They've got a lot more trust and respect for me than my other friends. I was feeling good from all this attention and everyone expecting me to be able to handle things. Finally, I mustered up the most authoritative voice I could and yelled, "Cut it out with the key. I told you already. That will not work." I had everyone quiet again, so that was a step forward. Now, what exactly is the problem going on here? I asked. They started to explain, but they were both talking at once, and nothing they said gave me any better understanding as to how I was involved. So finally I just was like, how do you two know each other? And the guy said, we're friends. We're good friends. She's just a little overreacting right now. In hindsight, the guy probably had some drugs on him or some other reason to want the cops, or in my case people dressed as cops, to go away. Because he seemed terrified even as he was saying it was all fine. As best I could piece together, stopping the fight would make everyone happy. So I thought back to how my mum would break up an argument, and implored them, come on guys. Friends shouldn't be arguing this way. Let's go. Whatever this is, we're gonna set it aside, we're gonna sleep on it. Until then, I want you to hug it out. Come on. And I started ushering them into one another. I guess the girl didn't really want to deal with the people dressed as cops either, because though she begrudgingly put her keys down, she didn't go in for a hug. So rowdy drunk me was like, come on, hug, anything could happen. Life is short. You could be dead tomorrow. This poor girl thought the police were threatening to kill her if she didn't comply with an order to hug it out. They hugged, and then I was like, alright. Where you guys from? And the guy was like, I'm staying here, at this building here. And I was like, okay. Then go home. You two need to cool off. And tomorrow maybe you'll have forgotten about this whole thing. You two, go. Go somewhere else. I said to the girl, vaguely gesturing away from the building. She started to say something about her $50, but I was tired and ready to go home, so I was like, now. You can pick this up again tomorrow. You too, man. Go inside. Get some sleep. It's late. You could hear the crowd whispering in confused awe as I watched the girl leave and watched the guy go inside, just yelling over them if they tried to start up again until they'd both cleared out, and then stumbling off myself. Then I went home, showered, passed out, and barely remembered any of it the next day. Just vaguely remembered talking to some people arguing on my way home. About a week later I went to this friend's house again, and someone was there who had apparently been in the crowd. They were like, oh my goodness, you're the cop who broke up that fight in front of my building. Between you and me, I promise I'll keep it on the low, but were you drunk on the job? You seemed trashed. Were you off duty or? I told her I had no idea what she was talking about. The closest I'd ever been to a street fight was watching World Star. She was like, yeah. You talked about watching World Star. So did you make them hug just to mess with them, or is that like an actual thing they really teach police to do to de-escalate things? That got my attention, because what were the odds of someone who looked like me being in this area talking about World Star? And I did remember the people I talked to hugging. So I asked her to elaborate, and as she recounted the events, and the whole thing started coming back to me. I was like, hey, yeah, that was me, and laughed. Focused more on the breaking up a fight part and not really registering the cop part. So my confused buddy was like, don't pull her leg like that, come on. They wouldn't let you be a cop on your best day. And I had to think about that one for a second, because he was absolutely right. Finally I put the pieces together and sheepishly explained they mix up. We all had a good laugh over it. And I learned never to drink while dressed as someone it's illegal to impersonate, even accidentally. Because you never know what could happen. The next story is titled, Sir, I live here. Please go away. Okay, so on to the story. I live in a mobile home on property that has been passed down for generations. It belonged to my great-grandma, my grandma, and now my mama. So if something was to happen to my mama, the land would go to my brother and I. Since he already has a house with one of my favorite cis-in-laws, the land and house would belong to me. So me and my parents were talking one day, and I mentioned how I was craving some peaches. I usually get them in the jar, filled with sweet juice. Yum. And Mama said that's something she's wanted to get for a while. Some peach trees. So I got all excited and went to a co-op. If you don't know what a co-op is, it's a place you can get gardening tools, seeds, trees, plants, fishing gear, etc. It's like a mall for us country folks lol. I get to the co-op and find the peach trees, call Mama, give her the price and told her there was some plum trees available as well. So I get one plum tree, and one peach tree. I get the plant food, and some bricks and other stuff to decorate around it. I get home and my dad asked if I could plant them because he had to go take a family friend to therapy. Fine enough. I grew up being a tomboy, so I know what I'm doing. I come out the house in my messy clothes, my gloves, and whatever else I need. Now, I already had the stuff laid out in the yard. Knew where I was planting them and all. But something in my gut and spirit was throwing me off. You ever get the feeling you was being watched? Yay, I had that feeling. I look up and it's a white car driving by mighty slow. Okay, so what's not about to happen is my big ass getting kidnapped in broad daylight. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no bacon. Not today. For a female, I know how to take care of myself. I go in the house and get my knife that I keep for protection and stick it in my pocket. I should note that there is 2 entrances in our yard that is connected. So it's like you come in one entrance and can go out the other. I come back outside and this same car came back and pulled into our yard and went out the other way. Okay, now I'm creeped out. So I grabbed my phone and put 911 on speed dial. I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life, but I'm a homebody. I don't like going out that much. So after I put the phone on speed dial, I put it right next to me on my small table and get started digging my holes for our trees. Soon as I'm done digging, I grab the plant food and the trees. Fix them up real nice and straight, and put the dirt back over. Now it's time for me to decorate. My favorite part. I grab my bricks, and everything else, and not even 5 minutes of me starting, the same damn car is driving by. But this time it came into the second entrance and pulled all the way into the yard and stopped. Some tall, lanky guy steps out and says, "How much?" Huh? How much you charge to do this? I like the work you did. I'm looking for someone to do a job like this. So I'm looking at him all confused and I say, "I'm sorry sir, but I don't do this for work. I'm just planting in the yard." He gives me a side eye and says, "How do you not do this for work? Clearly the owner of this house paid you to do it. Just give me an estimate." Man, like you can do the work. Okay, I know I'm a damn tomboy, but how in the hell do you mistaken a female with big titties, a fat ass, and thick thighs for a man? So I look at him all mad and say, 1. I am not a damn man. 2. I don't do this for work. 3. This is my house and you are trespassing. Did you not see the no trespassing sign on the tree by the entrance? Big and black sign with big capital red letters. So now he got this, I don't wanna hear no excuse, attitude and says, "Look man, I just want a damn estimate. It's not that hard to do. Just come up with a price to do the yard work." Yeah, right about now, I'm pissed to the highest level of pistivity. I remembered I had my phone already on speed dial, so I told him to either leave willingly or the police will be called. Whole time, I already pressed dial. This fool really stood there for a second, completely stepped out the car and stood next to it and said, "No." Said somebody was gonna hear about how I, who to him is still a man, won't give him service. Then asked the stupid question, "Where is my van or truck with our company name?" Yup, my level of pissativity is going higher. I'm giving the 911 operator my address, and when he said that, I screamed out, "Get you ass off my property. I told you bare rilla looking ass this was my house and that I wasn't a man, but you bout to get yo saggy, body built like a pickle ass beat like I am a damn man if you don't leave." Mind you, I have my other hand in my pocket, with my finger on the button of my knife if he tries something. The whole time, he's still standing there arguing with me. A few minutes go by and the police show up. And it just so happens to be a cop I've known since I was a kid. He was my big brother's chief when my brother was a policeman. Knew my mama and my daddy. Boy was I happy to see him. Soon as he stepped out and asked what happened, I couldn't get a word out before this maniac went ape-crap crazy about how I, an employee to a gardening company, cursed at him, true, threatened him, also true, and assaulted him, whoa now, false. Chief looked at me and at the house and back at me and said, "Baby girl, is that you?" I looked at him, took off my garden hat, showing my high afro puff, put my glasses on and said, "Yup, it's me chief." Dude jaw dropped, then looked me up and down. Chief said, "This is a female sir. She lives here in this house. I know her and her family very well. She doesn't work for a garden company. She and her parents just like to garden in their yard. You have been warned to leave this property because it is private property and you refused, so now I have to arrest you. You better be glad she didn't assault you, like you claim she did, because for one, with this being their property, they have a right to defend themselves on this property if you're still on it. And 2, this girl grew up watching wrestling and wrestled with my boys. She'd kick your ass. Okay, hands behind your back. I'll call a tow company to come pick up your car. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there, big ass grin on my face. When the chief was leaving, my dad pulled up and asked what happened. I told him the whole story and he pressed charges because he was on our property. Oh, and now we have fresh peaches and plums that are so sweet, they've given me sugar bumps. Little tiny bumps that come up from eating something extremely sweet and are very, very itchy. The next story is titled, I don't work there, sir. So I work for a wholesale meat distributor. We sell everything from beef to seafood to everywhere from restaurants to supermarkets. We are the middlemen between the producers of the food and the people that sell them to you, the consumer. My job entails covering the phones for the company during our regular operator's lunch break. IC equals irate customer. Ring. Me, good afternoon, thank you for calling less than wholesaler name greater than. IC, yeah. I've been calling for the last 2 weeks to make a complaint and no one has called me back. Me, I'm so sorry about that sir, one moment please. I transfer him to the marketing director, who is in charge of complaints. I'm thinking he's a business owner who didn't care for a product we sold him. A few calls later. Rings. Me, good afternoon. I see, no one picked up. I got the damn voicemail again. Me, I'm sorry? I'm not sure who this is yet as it has been a few minutes. I see, that's right. How many times do I have to call you to tell you about this shrimp I ordered? It's spoiled. Me, oh, I'm sorry sir. Still thinking he is a restaurant owner, who is your salesperson? I see, salesperson? I don't have no salesperson. I have 10 pounds of shrimp we bought that's spoiled. Do you want me to have to go online and leave a bad review for your business on every site? Is that what it'll take to have this fixed? Me, figuring it out, I'm so sorry, sir. But where did you buy the shrimp? I see, less than supermarket chain greater than. Me, and have you tried getting a refund from them for the shrimp? I see, no, we ordered it through less than grocery delivery app greater than and they don't do returns. Me, I'm sure if you contact the store. I see, I don't want to contact the store, I'm contacting you to make this right. Are you telling me I have to send my son all the way to the store to return these spoiled shrimp that you made? Is this what you want? Senior's fired up? I'll leave a review. Me, I'm sorry sir, but since you purchased the shrimp from the store, they would be the ones to give you the refund. I see, I don't want a refund, I want you to make this right. Me, okay, one moment sir. I call my supervisor who tells me to give him to the area manager. Hope they can figure out what IC wanted. The next story is titled, I no longer work here and you're an idiot. This happened about 15 years ago, holy cow, I can't believe it was that long ago. I worked for a chain restaurant for several years. For the most part, I hated the job but really enjoyed the people that I worked with. When I left, I gave a month's notice and it was on good terms. I resigned so that I could go to school full-time in a different city with the 4-year institution of my choice. During the time I worked there, I also worked another full-time job and I saved up a bunch of money so I could give myself a month or to spend time with my family and friends and purchase everything I'd need without being exhausted or in a rush. My last day came and went. Since I had several friends there, I would go eat there about once a week to say hi and support my friends. There was one woman, J, who was training to be a manager. Everyone hated her. And V, who was a manager, who we had mixed feelings about. A childhood friend of mine started her period unexpectedly and realized that she didn't have any pads or tampons on her. She called me and asked me to bring some supplies, so I did. This is the conversation that ensued. J, to me, you're fucking late. I can't believe they haven't fired you after all of your no-shows. Me, I don't work here anymore. I haven't for almost a month. I just came to bring L something. J, what the fuck is it? If you're not here to buy anything, you need to leave. Me, it's none of your fucking business. Get away from me. J, you have no business talking to me like that. Give me that bag and clock the fuck in, you stupid idiot. At this point, she snatched the bag from my hand and knocked my arm into a decorative brick wall. I wanted to hit her, but V walked up and asked what was going on, so I told her. V told J that I no longer worked there. J, ignoring V, the hell she doesn't. She's going to do what I tell her to do and she's going to clock in. We're short-staffed. V, you're being unreasonable. This attitude is why you haven't been promoted and you have such a problem with the wait staff. J, get to work. Me, how daft are you? I don't work here and you're an idiot. J stomped off. V apologized and delivered the goods to my friend. J was fired maybe a week later for pulling something similar on a staff member that resigned right before having a baby. Staff member came in for her final check, still pregnant, and J shoved her against a wall after she refused to work. The next story is titled, "The Time I Was Mistaken for an Employee While Visiting My Hometown." I moved away from my home in Texas for about 7 years before coming back. During that time, I came back for a wedding. Mum's work friend got married, and it was beautiful. Afterward, we went roughly to the other side of town, where the reception was to be held. This place was very upscale, at least compared to what I'm used to. Fancy clothing stores, expensive restaurants, and my favorite, the electronics store. We've got a couple hours before the reception, so my mum and I begin walking around the area, checking out the different stores. And eventually, we wind up in an electronics store, the one with a logo based on a doctor's natural enemy. At this point it's important to point out that my mum had brought a change of clothes for the reception, and I stayed in my charcoal grey suit. So while we are in the electric fruit store, I point out their streaming box, as I had recently picked one up myself. My mum is not tech savvy at all, and easily gets frustrated with it. But my brother at one point had gotten her to get a smartphone, same brand as the store we were in. I began to explain to her how it worked, hoping that she might give up her cable provider. They're really horrible, and those in Texas know of this company too, and go with streaming services. While I'm telling her about it, a man comes up from behind and begins talking. We will call him customer. Customer, excuse me ma'am, I hate to interrupt, but could I borrow him for a minute? My mum looked a little confused, but I turned to him and asked what I could do for him. He asked me tell him more about this streaming box. Since I was already mid-speech about it, I obliged. I told him how to link his phone, open up streaming apps, and even how to mirror his phone to the TV. By the end of it, he looks happy and says, "Customer, alright, I'm sold. I want one of these." Me, "Cool, let me grab you someone who works here to get it ring up." The guy looks slightly shocked, and says, "Customer, wait, you don't work here?" I chuckled a little and said, "Me, nah, sorry about that. I was just telling my mum about this, since I just recently got one." The guy understood right away, and apologized for interrupting. I told him it was totally fine, and he went to find a customer. About this point, I had to use the bathroom, so I left the store to find one. After I did my business, I came back to that store and met back up with Mum. While we were in there, I spotted the man I helped, talking with an employee, and he looked frustrated. The employee looked flustered, making me think she was new to the store. The guy looked up, and happened to spot me, and immediately pointed me out. "Customer, that's the guy the first talked to." At this point I couldn't just disappear, so I went head first into the mix. Me, "Hey, good to see you again, what's going on?" Customer, "I was looking for you. I went to talk to the manager to tell him to hire you." I laughed a little, and thanked him for that, but informed him I was only in town for a little while. At this point he seemed more relaxed, but the employee looked confused. Me, "Sorry about that, had to go handle something. What can I do for you?" It's been a few years, so I don't remember the exact conversation here, but essentially he wasn't sure about one of the features, and the insurance the company offers for their products. By the end of it, he decided on the streaming box, and their 2-year warranty. The guy thanked me again, as he and the employee made their way to the front. The employee looked back at me and mouthed the words, "Thank you." I waved back as she winked at me, and we turned around and left. Not an irate situation, but nonetheless, some customer assumed I worked there since I was formally dressed and explaining a product to another person in the store. I don't use this brand's products anymore, but back then, I think working at that store would have been kind of cool. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.